Hello class, I hope you're doing well. Today's lesson is going to be on value. What value means in drawing terms is the perception of light and shadow. And the way that we create value is a combination, or can be a combination, of additive techniques and reductive techniques. So we're going to be creating a value chart today. I'm going to go ahead and put that up on the screen for you to look at. We're going to talk about shading to create value. We're going to talk about stippling, and we're going to talk about hatch marks. So over the semester, we're going to be doing many different studies of different types of objects, organic, architectural, but from observation. Now value helps us define edges, and like I said, it creates the illusion of shape. It also gives the perception of light and shadow. So this is a drawing, an exercise that you'll be doing later on in the semester. I just wanted to show this so you can see how the charcoal has been applied to the drawing. So I'm using a combination of shading and cross-hatching with this drawing. Now I want to show you another drawing which is a higher contrast, basically meaning darker darks and brighter brights. So we'll also be doing a self-portrait. This is a self-portrait of myself I did last semester. This was during the lockdown, so it definitely captures my mood for sure. But also I just want to show you some of the mark making on the drawing. So you can see how the drawing has been a combination of additive techniques and reductive, meaning I'm racing back into the charcoal. Charcoal as a medium is very malleable, meaning once you put it on the paper, you can manipulate it. You can push it around, you can smudge it, you can race back into it. It's very much like, it's very much akin to painting. Okay? It's very much akin to painting because you can build up layers. You can build up layers to create the illusion of depth and, like I said, shape. You know, that something appears in the round. So, today, I want you to be working with a charcoal pencil. You're going to need charcoal pencil. You're going to need an eraser. You're going to need an eraser that's sharp, meaning that it has a nice crisp edge. So you might need to cut your eraser down so you have a nice sharp edge. You're going to need the soft pastel, and that's the charcoal with a K. If you don't have the charcoal with a K, the soft pastel, the more chalky charcoal, that's fine. You can get by using just the compressed charcoal, which is the smaller, thinner sticks, like this. So you're going to need this, or a pencil, charcoal pencil, and this is the thicker charcoal with a K. You'll know this material because when you touch it, it rubs off very easily. See how it just really rubs off? It's really soft. They make this in this size, so try not to get the two confused. Charcoal with a K or soft pastel. C-H-A-R-K-O-L-E. We're going to be doing a value chart, and this is a very important assignment because, as you saw in those drawings, there's a wide range of value, right? From the lightest lights to the darkest darks. And what this project is designed to do is, and what I hope and what I want you to get from this project, this assignment, this exercise, is that you start questioning what is a 10% difference in value. This assignment also allows you to hone in a little bit more on your sensitivity of materials, because with this value chart, you have to work really dark and aggressive, but you also have to work really super light. Okay? So, to get started, I want you to draw a line somewhere here, just at the very, little bit off the bottom of the page, 3 inches. Okay, and I want you to create 3 columns. In each column, I want them to be about 3 inches wide. And I want them to be about 2 inches apart. So let me illustrate that. Okay. Let me just erase this, clean this up a bit. Okay, so something like that, right? 3 columns, nice and clean, and very, very lightly, I want you to draw a line all the way across. Make sure this is really light. If you draw this too dark, if you go way too dark like that, it's going to affect the drawing the whole way through. So draw really light, and make them about 1.5 inches tall. So I'm going to do 1, 2, remember real light, 3, all the way up. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I want 10, okay? So this is going to be 100%. This is 100% dark, opaque. This is going to be 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10%, and then one more line at the top, and this is going to be 0%. All right, so here's where you're going to start. 0 should be the white of the paper. Okay? 100% should be completely dark. So this is where I want you to use your soft pastel. One other thing you're going to need for this assignment is you're going to need a piece of cloth. That could be a ripped up piece of like from a t-shirt or a sock or something like that. Just something cloth and something soft, because you're going to need to blend. So we're going to label this before I move on. This is going to be the shade. This will be stipple. And this will be hatch marks. All right. So let's start with the soft pastel. That's this one. And I'm going to use the corner, this edge right here. And I'm going to darken this in. Okay. And actually, I think I'm going to start here at the 50 and just kind of give this whole thing a middle value. So I'm just going to lightly shade it in. We're trying to get our values to be nice and flat on the shade. What I mean by really nice and flat is it looks like it's a complete homogeneous swatch, meaning there's no marks, it's all equal, it's all even. Okay, so here's my rag. See, it's already dirty from drawing from last semester. I'm gonna take this, I'm just gonna softly blend it in. Okay, now this is also wiping away charcoal too. So I'm going to take this a little bit darker. I'm going to build it up. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and darken this as dark as I can get it. Okay, so I'm going to leave that where it's at. So this is going to be 100% completely opaque, dark as I can go with this material. The light of the paper is the lightest this will be, right? Without any kind of added white. 50%, this needs to be somewhere in the middle of these two. So I have to figure that out. You will have to figure that out in your drawing. This whole thing, this whole value chart is an exercise in you making those decisions and then reacting to those decisions. So I need to kind of figure out what feels 50%. So I might take it a little bit darker. So that's what I'm saying. You want to avoid that. Try to keep things nice and even. So now, going up from 100, I need this to be a 10% jump lighter. So it has to be just barely lighter than the 100%. Should be a very subtle jump, 10%, right? All right, so now I need to figure out, okay, what's 10% lighter than this? And I still might need to take this a little darker. So I'm putting some of the compressed charcoal on top of this to make it even darker. So this is very messy. As you're drawing, you're going to be building up a lot of charcoal in front of your drawing. So make sure that when you're set up in a place that can be dirty. So I'm going to take a step back, and I don't know how this is showing up on camera, but to my eyes, these two are looking too close to the same. All right, looking too close. Maybe I need to lighten this up a little bit. So maybe I'll hit it with my rag, and that'll lighten it a little bit because it'll remove some of the charcoal. Be very careful to make sure that I have these lines of distinction from one to another. This actually is a lot of back and forth, okay? This is not an easy assignment. What's important about the assignment is not that I can see that you can do this, it's that you go through the process of doing this and that you see the difference. That you can go, what's wrong with this? This is wrong. I need to fix that. That's what this assignment's about. It's keeping it that simple, just 10% increments all the way up. All right, I'm gonna get to 50 on this. So let's talk about the lighter colors. Actually, we'll talk about the lighter shades before we move on. Now, I'm still working this. This is still in process. So this time, I'm going to go to 40. Okay, I'm going to take my rag. And I'm going to push this up. I want to blend some of this in. I'm just going to keep on doing that. Adding a little more to the 40, a little bit more to the 40-50 range, and then blending it up. The goal is I'm pushing the material up to get my 30, 40, 20, 10. Okay, so you see the process here. That just gives you a good idea of how to start the shade, the whole spectrum between light and dark. So on the stipple, we're going to head start a little bit by just starting at the 50. And what we're going to do is we're going to give this whole thing a mid-tone. Mid-tone all the way down. We're going to do the same thing on the hatch too. We're going to give this all a mid-tone. So I'm gonna, both of these, I'm gonna get them to like a mid-tone, a mid-value, and kind of up to here, the whole thing. So drag, blend this in just a little bit. I don't want to be too aggressive. I don't want to wipe it all away. But I want there to be a little bit of a tone to the paper. Okay, so blending this in. All right, let's talk about stipple marks and hatch marks. So with the stipple, I want this to be even to this very, very dark, but I want to do that by stippling. So stippling is basically a small, making small little marks, small little dots. I'm going to blend that in a little bit. So the more I go over it with the stipple marks, the darker it's going to get. Now this is supposed to be 100% dark, so we could just block it all in like the shade. But I want it to have that texture. So I'm going to allow just a little bit of the marks to show through. So I want it to have that stipple texture. I'm using the charcoal with the K. Okay, so let's go up to the 90%. So as you can see, it's just tiny little dots, but I need to get those same, I need these to be equal. Okay, over to the side. So I'm going to speed this up and I'm going to do like a good round of stippling, trying to achieve that 10% jump from swatch, calling this a swatch, to swatch, okay? And I'll jump around a lot, okay? Okay, so I'm in a good spot to start working in with the eraser. So I'm going to do the same exact process, except for this time I'm going to stipple with my eraser. Okay? So this has got to be clean, because this is the 0. So I can go ahead and clean this up. Notice how I'm trying to avoid any really strong lines. That's why I had you do the light lines to divide, to divide the swatches. So now I'm going to work back in stippling, but I'm going to use the eraser. I'm trying to blend these a little bit, but I do want there to be a difference. You know, we're going for the 10% jump in value between each swatch. So I'm going to leave it here for now. I'm going to jump onto this, the hatch, but I can already tell you my shades need more work, you know, this needs more work. It's always going to need more work. It's never going to be 100% perfect, and that's not the goal of the project. We're going to be using these skills, these actual technical, you know, and you know, the physicality of the drawing and creating texture and using line. We're going to be using these skill sets in your drawings, and it's going to help you when we get to how we perceive light and how we create that illusion in our drawings. Okay, so let's move over to the hatch marks. So right now I just have it blocked out, as you can see, blocked out just like we did this one. Push some of that up here. So this time we're doing hatch. So a hatch mark It's just a small, short, straight line, okay? So I'm going at like this angle. I'm going at like this angle right here, okay? Small, short lines, keeping them nice and even. What I mean by nice and even is going pretty much the same direction, but also at the same line weight, at the same pressure. Okay, I'm not hammering it too hard, meaning I'm not putting weight, a lot of pressure on. I'm just kind of building up the marks, easing into it. So with hatching, now this bottom we got to go pretty dark. So if I make the same mark, but I change my direction from like this to like this, where those lines cross over, it's going to have the illusion of looking darker. Our eyes are going to optically mix those lines together to make it read like a dark gray. So I'll shift my marks every so often, the angle. I try to avoid doing a lattice like this, or let me draw it so you can see. I'll draw it right here so you can really see. I try to avoid this. Instead, I do this. See, it's much softer. So now I'm just going to spend some time and just hatch my way up. And also hatch marks, I can do this too. I can go over more than one swatch at a time. Because every time I go over this, if I'm bringing my mark to here, this is gradually getting darker, but this is also getting darker. So this is what I want you to explore. Like, how do they combine to give the appearance that it's going darker? We're trying to figure out how these lines work. So I still want that texture of the hatch marks, nice straight lines. I don't want to blend it in too much, just like this. I don't want to blend it too much. I want it to read like, there's thousands of little dots in here. This is going to be thousands of lines. So now we're going to erase, and I'm going to do hatch marks by doing line work. So this is where having a nice sharp eraser is going to pay off. So I need to trim my eraser. So I just cut my eraser so it's nice and flat so I can make a nice clean streak. See that? Nice clean erase mark. Let me bring this up a little bit. See how I can make nice clean sharp lines. Okay, that's what I'm going to be doing over here on the hatch. So this is the 0%, so this needs to all be cleaned up. I'm going to erase the whole thing. Okay, now I'm going to be bringing some of these lines down. Okay, so here's where I'm going to stop. I expect you to spend 3 hours on this drawing. Right now, this particular value chart, it's off to a decent start. What I want you to pay attention to mostly is you're getting those 10% jumps, and anywhere you see a place where it's like, they look kind of the same, then that tells me that this needs to go darker, because I'm looking at these two. So this needs to go darker. If I'm looking at these two, they look kind of the same. So based on what I do down here, I'm gonna have to adjust up here. This is very much a game, sort of. It's, like I said, they're never gonna be 100% perfect, but that's not the point. The point is to get you really looking and judging value, okay? What else did I wanna say? Okay, so I also want like a 60% here needs to be equal across. So as you can see, I haven't really gotten that far into the drawing, but that's the next stage. Once I get up, then I'm going to try to get my jumps to be equal from the shade to the stipple to the hatch, equal this way. I expect to see the whole 3 hours put into these drawings. Like I said, this is a good project. Put your headphones on, listen to some music that you're really into, and really just focus on the drawing. And make sure you're stepping back and calculating everything visually. And I look forward to seeing your value charts. Take care.